This is a Chinese historical drama filmed by Japanese. The story takes place in the Spring and Autumn and Warring States period in 245 BC. In this vast land, 7 powers stand in opposition. Bloody wars constantly unfold between nations, especially between Qin and Wei. Wei is eager to expand its territory, and thus seeks to confront Qin on the Snakegan Plain. Since Li Xin helped Ying Zheng reclaim his seized power, new challenges have emerged. Wei begins to invade Qin's borders aggressively. As Ying Zheng contemplates his strategy, assassins suddenly attack him. Overpowered by the assailants, Ying Zheng is quickly defeated. At this critical moment, Chang Wenjun arrives with his men to protect him, but these soldiers are no match for the assassins. Just then, Li Xin appears with his sword, and the pressure from his presence makes the 2 assassins wary. Facing the repeated attacks from the 2, Li Xin relied on her own abilities to maneuver between the blades. However, one of them takes the opportunity to launch a surprise attack. At this critical moment, a hidden arrow saves Li Xin. The person who came was He Liao Diao. She took off her headgear to reveal her pretty facial features. At this moment, 2 Qin soldiers arrive to report the urgency at the border. Li Xin, determined to become a general, rushes to the battlefield without hesitation to earn military merit. Upon hearing the news, many Qin citizens enlist, and soon a large army marches to the front, including our protagonist Xin. In this war-torn era, his dream is to escape his slave status, achieve greatness on the battlefield, and become a great general of Qin. On the way to Hangu Pass, Xin meets his friends, and the 3 set off together to the front lines. Qin has a very strict hierarchical system, and this extends to the battlefield. Officers require newcomers to form teams of 5, believing that only a united team can withstand the enemy's attacks. Seeing that everyone around has formed teams, Xin looks around and notices a person wearing strange white clothing. This person is silent and does not respond to Xin's invitation. Taking the silence as agreement, and with an old soldier named Taku Kei, who also lacks teammates, Xin barely forms a team of 5 to face the Wei soldiers. On the other side, the invading Wei army is formidable, quickly capturing Qin's Wan city upon arrival. The leader is Wu Qing, one of the famous 7 fire dragons of Wei. True to his name, he is ruthless, indulging in burning, killing, and looting. Wherever his iron hoof treads, ruins are left behind. The Wei soldiers, high in morale, occupy 2 hills on either side upon reaching the battlefield, creating a strategic advantage. On the plains, a hill is as strategically significant as a city, allowing for both offensive and defensive maneuvers to achieve strategic results with minimal cost. Responsible for defending against the Wei attack is Qin's great general Biao Gong. Upon learning that the hills have been taken, he immediately orders their recapture at all costs. Currently, Qin's infantry is not fully deployed, making a hasty attack too reckless. Since Biao Gong has given the order, Xin's 4th Army unit can only rush desperately toward the battlefield. Leading this new recruit unit is the 1,000-man commander Fu Hu Shen. He is cruel and ruthless. Anyone who dares to defy his orders is immediately killed with his sword. This bloody scene terrifies everyone. Fu Hu Shen is someone who stops at nothing to achieve his goals, and the hill in front is the target of his unit's attack. In the next moment, both sides are in formation. The Wei army is uniformly clad in armor and shields, while the Qin army is in tattered clothes without uniform attire. Taku Kei reminds Xin not to fight alone, as only by uniting can they have a chance to survive. In the eyes of others, this is a battle with a huge disparity. However, for Xin, this is a great opportunity to kill the enemy and serve the country. With a command, everyone charges. Xin leads the way, standing out at the front of the formation. The Wei soldiers set up their shields and raise their spears, but Xin leaps into the crowd. In the Wei captain's view, Shin's action is tantamount to suicide. However, Shin's agile body weaves through the Wei soldiers, taking a life with each movement. Seeing Shin fight alone against many on the battlefield undoubtedly boosts the morale of the troops. Watching several formations being broken, the Wei captain on the tower becomes anxious. Although the Wei soldiers are well equipped, the Qin soldiers fight as a team. And Shin does the opposite, fighting alone against a group. He grabbed the enemy's spear, continuously pulling and knocking down all the Wei soldiers around him. Seeing the Wei captain on the tower, he directly threw the spear in his hand towards him. Shin launched another attack, using the enemy's shield to leap into the air and charge towards the Wei captain on the tower. Without their captain, the Wei soldiers were defeated by the high-spirited Qin army. At this moment, the ground trembled and yellow sand rolled in the distance. Shin saw clearly from the tower and signaled everyone to escape quickly. It turned out to be the Wei's so-called strongest on-the-ground chariot unit, who were recklessly taking the lives of Qin soldiers. This was just the first wave of probing attacks, and the subsequent offensives would be even more fierce. The frontline scout reported the situation to Biaogong, but Biaogong did not send cavalry to support, instead ordering the 4th Army to continue holding their position. On the battlefield, Jiang Lei came up with an idea. She had everyone pile up the bodies high, so the war horses could not run amok. Sure enough, the chariot unit could not cross this obstacle, and Jiang Lei's strategy allowed the 4th Army to survive. Other units were not so lucky and were completely annihilated by the chariot unit. The Wei deputy general believed that the Qin soldiers were doomed and now was a good time to pursue the victory, so he ordered a proactive attack, intending to take Biaogong's head in one fell swoop. Seeing the enemy start to move, Qin's generals advised Biaogong to retreat. However, he seemed confident and ordered the troops to continue to stand by. The battle lasted from day to night, with the Wei army always having the upper hand. Shin's unit could only huddle in a corner under the cover of darkness. Seeing that the enemy was about to wipe them out, they could only move to an area with fewer enemies, but soon they were discovered by the enemy. Shin asked everyone to retreat, and he was responsible for the aftermath. After a day of fighting, Shin was exhausted and quickly ambushed by the enemy. At this critical moment, Jiang Lei suddenly appeared. The sound of the battle attracted more enemies, and it was too late to escape now. However, Jiang Lei had no intention of retreating. She jumped in place, constantly adjusting her breathing. This scene was eerie and ridiculous, but the next moment showed the Wei army the real power. Jiang Lei's speed exploded, and the sharp sword light shuttled through the crowd. After the crazy killing, no one dared to underestimate her again. After the battle, Jiang Lei's breathing was a bit disordered, and Shin timely blocked the enemy's attack. At this moment, he also discovered that the other party was a woman. He took Jiang Lei and retreated to the back of the mountain, However, what appeared in front of the two was an abyss. Changlei, without a word, pulled Xin and jumped down. I don't know how long it had been, but Xin and Changlei gradually woke up. Looking at Changlei in front of him, Xin asked her why she, as a woman, wanted to go to the battlefield. It turned out that Changlei was a member of the Assassin clan, all descendants of Qi Yu, and cursed not to leave the deep mountains. If someone wanted to leave, they had to participate in a trial and achieve first place. During a trial, her sister was brutally killed by the Yu people who joined the Wei camp in order to clear obstacles for her. So she left the mountain with the first place in the trial and went to Wei to avenge her sister. The next day, Xin and Changlei reunited with their teammates. At this time, Wei gathered all its forces to launch the final attack, and countless soldiers came down from the hill. Wuqing sat steadily in the central command tent, directing the movement of the troops. On the battlefield, Qin soldiers were ready to respond to the enemy's attack at any time. However, Xin made a bold decision. He chose not to go down the mountain and join the main force, but to fight with his back to the water. His goal was to strike the Wei's rear camp on the mountain. Even though the Wei's main force was on the mountain, there were still more than 2,000 soldiers around the camp, while Xin only had a few dozen people. In the eyes of the Wei deputy general, this move was like hitting a stone with an egg, so he did not take it seriously. Biao Gong, however, was very optimistic about Xin. He believed that the few dozen people led by Xin were the trump card to defeat Wei. Biao Gong decided to use this spark to reverse the situation. He then ordered a full-scale attack towards the location of the Fourth Army. The elite Qin cavalry took the lead and charged towards Xin's area. Given the current situation, they could not engage in a head-on battle with the Wei army. They then split up, preserving their strength while meeting up with the infantry. At this time on the mountain, Xin's troops were already at a disadvantage. At this moment, the sound of hooves came, and Fu Hushen had led the cavalry over. Seeing this, the Wei soldiers turned and fled up the mountain, preparing to regroup to resist Fu Hushen's attack. Fu Hushen came to Xin's side. He was very optimistic about these soldiers. After this battle, they would surely achieve supreme glory. Next, he was going to take the head of the Wei deputy general. Xin, upon hearing this, could not help but tighten the long sword in his hand. At this time, the Wei soldiers outside the camp were at a loss. They never expected the Qin soldiers to be so fierce. In the chaos, Xin grabbed a warhorse and fought hard in front of the team, opening up a way out for everyone. However, the infantry would slow down the pace of the cavalry's attack. Fu Hushen ordered the infantry to stay and guard, while the cavalry charged to the top of the mountain in one go. Even though Xin did not want to abandon his teammates after being comforted by them, he agreed to meet at the foot of the mountain. With the resistance of the infantry, the cavalry soon arrived in front of the Wei deputy general. The deputy general was already prepared and ordered the archers to shoot. In such an open area, the cavalry suffered heavy losses, and in the second round of shooting, Fu Hushen was unfortunately hit by an arrow. Just as the third round of arrows was about to be shot, Xin had already leaped into the air, leading the cavalry to break through the archers' line. At this point, there were very few cavalry left. Fu Hushen used all his strength to reach the deputy general, but was pierced by an arrow. With his last bit of strength, he plunged the dagger into the other's neck. Seeing the deputy general fall, the Wei soldiers scattered and fled. Xin thought he had already taken the main camp, and the battle could end there. Unexpectedly, the foot of the mountain was densely packed with Wei troops, and in the center was Wuqing's camp. At this moment, Wuqing, fully armed, led the Wei main force to prepare for the expedition. Upon learning that the other side had taken the deputy general's hill with only 500 cavalry, he couldn't help but look solemn. On the other side, Xin was about to lead his men back to the main force when he met Qin General Wang Qi leading reinforcements. However, he had not received military orders, so he did not intend to take action. He told Xin to feel the changes in the situation with his heart. Daring to fight is the foundation of becoming a great general, but the key to becoming the main general is the control of the situation. As soon as he finished speaking, a group of cavalry came killing from afar, led by Biao Gong. They were like a sharp sword, heading straight for the Wei army. This was the first time Biao Gong had taken action, and ordinary soldiers could not resist his advancing steps. Soon, the 1st Battalion of Wei was broken through. Wu Qing did not panic and immediately sent out the chariot team to block. In this way, Biao Gong's momentum was suppressed. Biao Gong seemed to be brave but not wise, but in fact, the 4 infantry battalions that died before were all sacrificed for the final decisive battle. Biao Gong used the decline of the infantry to create the illusion of Qin's defeat for Wu Qing, thus luring Wu Qing away from the hill favorable to himself and then launching the final battle. At this time, fighting on the plains was most advantageous for the attack of Qin's iron cavalry. Biao Gong reversed the unfavorable situation with his strategy and then sent out the most elite cavalry to directly approach the Wei's central command tent. With the main general of the Wei army dead, the soldiers were powerless to fight and surrendered one after another. This battle ended with the victory of the Qin army. Xin performed outstandingly in the battle and was promoted to the rank of captain. But Qiang Lei's revenge had not yet been taken, so she left the army and set out on the road to Wei State alone. With the end of the war, civil and military officials began to discuss who the mastermind behind the previous assassination of Ying Zheng was. All fingers pointed to the Prime Minister, Lu Buwei. Soon, Lu Buwei actually brought General Meng Wu to see the emperor. He directly admitted that he was the mastermind behind it.
その一件については内密のはずだがなぜ知っている？
それは黒幕がこの呂不韋だからでございます。
冗談はよせ上昇。
And the power struggle within the Qin court had been brought to the forefront.